Stuck her into oblivion is Kelsey Leonard with a great block. Libby Lehman picks it up, finds Pat Mack. Pat Mack's got a shot to throw it to Ciccione. Instead, he's got an in-cut, quickly smothered. Devaraj's in-cut by Clendenin with nice defense. Now they try the other side with Leonard, throws a break up to the speedy Alex Thomas, joined by Holland. Thomas looking, he sees Reprimand in front of him, but there's too much clog in front of that. And so instead, it's just sent out to Lehman. Lehman finds Ciccione, and the offense working like clockwork. Finally, Shayna Reprimand with an open in-cut. She's been open a bunch, and she finds some help there. McMullen goes up the line. She's got to throw it quickly. Lehman unleashes one, and it's a perfect throw that Ryan Ciccione can't gather in. But she had to bend that around Brad Scott, and she did. You won't see a nicer handler throw than the one that Libby Lehman just put out to Ryan, and I'm sure that he's regretting the fact that he went with his right hand rather than his left, which is what, in my view, he should have done. Meanwhile, just back in motion, Clendenin's got it. And crawling right up the back is Libby Lehman. Surprised there was no call, but no problem there for Mockrish. And now a throw deep from Wallace, which bounces off the hands of Valvo. Thunderbirds catch a break. So a drop for both teams deep in the other's territory. Inside out from Leonard to Ciccione. Ciccione to Devaraj. Devaraj finds Alex Thomas again up that break side. What's he got? He's got Mack running away from him. He catches it. Quickly joined by Norbaum. He's double teamed. He throws out of it with a scuba to Alex Thomas. AT picks it up. So women playing critical defense deep for the Thunderbirds. Supercell. And with 2 minutes gone in the second period, it's 7-5. We're going to see if we can get, we've got two danger players here, and I'm going to see if maybe they're willing to talk to me.
Alumni.
Oh, I know, but you're once danger, always danger.
Yeah.
I think it's actually inked on your hide, isn't it? Okay, well, let's talk to Christy and Carolyn. Carolyn, let's talk to you first. You are just back from Nationals, where you were a Callahan finalist and a semifinalist. Talk about the run and what it meant to you guys.
I think we were just really feeling it. We had been to Nationals for the past 3 years in a row, and having experience at Nationals definitely helped do well at Nationals, so we knew what we had to do and just gave it our all, and it was awesome.
Now, in the past, do you feel like there was a sort of, wow, we're here at Nationals, this is great, and this year it was more like, we've been here, now we're here to kick some butt?
Yeah, definitely. I think as a team that we had just made it for the first time my sophomore year, didn't really know what to expect or like how to act at Nationals, and now with that experience, we kind of knew what to do and like just got it done. So.
Are you enjoying playing with Supercell, and does it feel like a team to you?
Yeah, this is really fun. I haven't played with most of these people before, so it's definitely different than a team I've been on for a while, but it's super fun. Everyone's just willing to learn and like work together.
Did you have to pay John Mass to lay you out on that one?
No, but I was really hoping he was going to throw that. So.
Well, I think that when they see Carolyn Normil going deep, they're going to launch it, and we're going to watch her take the field after a DC score. So a great opportunity for us to talk to a star in the college ranks and soon to be a star in the club ranks too, Carolyn Normil, and now a member of Supercell. So with the timeout on the field, it's 9:29 left to go in this half, and Supercell's still up 7-6, but we've got a very competitive game. Supercell able to play well together, mostly miscues that have prevented them from having a bigger lead, and that might be just jitters, but the other thing that we're seeing is great handling from the Supercell women. It seems like the DC team is relying more on its men to handle. That might change in this quarter because, of course, the balance is 4-3. Bartenstein readies to pull the disc, and he's got Trineri out there with him, Sumida. Looks like also Smullen and Boxbaum, who plays for Grit, the DC women's team, but her nickname is Pitt because she was a Pitt player. A lot of fronting going on of the women right now, and a disc is launched to Molly Moore, and Boxbaum gets her hand on it. Probably a little more blade on it than Sam Van Dusen wanted. And now Neely goes to pick it up, goes for the break right away, but instead sends it across the field to a well-covered but open Sumida. She had to mark right behind her. Morse right behind her. Smolin gets the disc. Quickly joined by Laurie. Sent into the middle to Neely. Little work with Swift. Give and go. And we've got a pick call. It's going to come back 10 yards. Neely looks on in disbelief. Doesn't think that it was a pick, but it is coming back. Vertical stack down here. Bucksbaum at the back, cutting against Molly Moore. Molly Moore trying to pick up ground. She looks over her shoulder, shuts off the up the line to Smolin. Bucksbaum's got it. Delgado on the mark, lays out. And a beautiful block by Delgado. Felipe Delgado blanketing the dump. Lays out. Neely attempts to get it on the rebound, but can't. Van Dusen picks it up, passes out of a double team to Laurie with a big scoober. She looks across the field. Finds Linda Morris. Morris throws one up to Max Shepard, who reaches up, and the pride of Edinburgh pulls it out of the sky. To the delight of the crowd and to his teammates, it's 8-6, favor of Supercell. 8 minutes or so left to go. Scoreboard's a little wonky today. Hopefully somebody's keeping official time. We're going to get a moment just to talk as they're moving the teams on and off the field here to assistant head coach of the Thunderbirds and Supercell, Dave Lionetti. And also, might as well congratulate you, and you can congratulate me on a nice finish at Grandmasters Beach Nationals. Came in fourth.
That was a blast.
It was. Beat seed, and we'll be back if we're still ambulatory next year.
And they invite us back.
Well,
we didn't cause any trouble.
No, I don't think so. We mostly cleaned up after our mess. I wanted to ask you about the handling of the Supercell women. It seems like Pittsburgh is relying more on the women to move the disc and get it into position to make downfield strikes than DC right now. Is that by design? Do you feel really good about the handlers in
we do.
The women's side?
We have so much talent on the women's side of the roster on this team, and we're doing everything we can to try to showcase that, right? Both on D and on O, but it's our advantage in this game. We're going to exploit it.
I agree with you, and they definitely showed up on D. We saw Leonard with a tremendous block, and there you see right now Devaraj making an in-cut, and Anson Reprimand following for her and pulling one down, hotly contested. And so, as you said, 3 blocks, and Pat McMullen here basically just to kind of shuttle the disc among the women. The defense very tight in this game. Alex Thomas jumps up to catch one, but instead it's picked up by May, and May floats one into the back to Devaraj, and a little bit of a lucky break, but you'll take it. They made their own breaks, though, by coming aggressively to the disc against a very aggressive DC defense. And as you said, Coach, the women, your advantage, and you're pressing it right now, and they seem to be blending as a team in a way that's really surprising for just 2 practices.
Yeah, 2 practices in a scrimmage. It's really been pleasantly surprising to see this the way that it's coming together. It's like they're not missing a beat with the way that some of our strategies with moving the disc off the line, where they're just flowing right into it. It's really amazing.
Could you get used to this?
Absolutely. This is what I want the AU deal to be. Maybe I shouldn't say that officially.
No,
but I would say I'm as much of a fan as I'm a player, a coach, and a player, but as much of a fan. And this is what I want to watch.
Yeah, I think that a lot of us feel that way, and there are all sorts of ways to address the issue, and I think this is a really productive one, and hopefully it'll set an example that everybody is going to notice, because we've got an enthusiastic crowd and a great game. I think in every way, I'll just be honest, I'm enjoying it more today than I was yesterday.
Absolutely.
And that's not just because of the score. All right, let's get back to action. Thanks a lot, Dave. Ross pulls it down, sends one out into space to Clendenin. That was a pinpoint throw and a aggressive 2-handed catch. Now the disc in the middle. Wallace has it. She sends it over to Holland. Holland finds Scott. Scott being marked by Robarsh. Norbaum takes the around. Has to go back pretty far. Reaches down, pulls it off his shoe tops. And Heffron immediately puts it on. He pops a throw up. But it's not a problem for Wallace, who comes down with it, sends it into the middle to Clendenin. Pops it out to Neely. DC offense is flowing now, and this one's out there for Ross. It's just a matter if she can put the clap on it, and she does. So DC probably with its best offensive point there, with about 7 minutes to go in this half, and they pull to within 2. Definitely a smoother offense, and again, I think they used their women more effectively on that point than they had. And some great play from Ross there. Kelly Ross is actually the only woman to try out for the DC Breeze this year. And she said she tried to convince some other women to do it. Nobody did, but she felt that it was so important to say to the league that, and to say to the women players, some terrific women players, look, we belong in Pro Ultimate. She's here today, and she's also a member of the 10-member Gender Equity Committee that includes a number of her teammates today, Delrico Johnson and Jillian Bowser-Dew. Kelly, as we said, Marcus Thaw, Matt Kerrigan is a member of that committee, and so is the coach, Daryl Stanley. Christy Laurie sends a perfect backhand textbook, that reach out, deep lunging backhand that she likes to throw. And this throw from Owen Watt is errant to Carolyn Normil, and Trineri picks it up. Marcus Thaw has it now, finds Neely. Guarding the deep is Carolyn Normil against Trineri. Delrico Johnson has it, slings it out to Thaw. So good cross-field movement, again from DC, trying to change the field up. Then they send it into the middle. Trineri, number 93, fakes a high backhand. This time she throws one out, and it's too much for Sumida, who was being pursued by Mass. So Jess Mass on the tight defense. Jonathan Mass goes back to field the disc, and let's see if the Thunderbirds O team, having been given a second chance, can make something happen here. Inside out finds Normil. She's always a danger to let one go from that position. Double teamed, and she smartly throws it back to John Mass. She's open on the strike cut across the field, and this time she jacks it. She finds Watt right in stride, and he's got Mass. Delrico Johnson giving chase and takes it away from Mass. And so a player who looks open isn't open because of the incredible speed of the D machine, Delrico Johnson. And in that case, Mass goes out to roll with the mark and shut off the throw, but he leaves too quickly. Johnson has it. Stall count getting up there. Throws it back to Neely. Neely fakes one into the middle, and instead he hits Smullen coming in. Smullen marked by Pagano. Jacks one up. Delrico Johnson underneath it. And Marcus Thaw finds his way past Ethan Beardsley, and the DC bench celebrates while the Pittsburgh bench calls for a foul on Marcus Thaw. I couldn't see it. The referees did. Disappointment there. Jess Mass was wide open, but did not have the time that she normally would because Delrico Johnson was back there. I don't know that there's another team player on the DC roster who could have tracked that one down and taken it away from Jess, but Delrico Johnson could. So something to keep in the back of your mind. Know where Johnson is on every throw. Score is 9-8. And as Coach Dave Lionetti said, this is a fun game to watch. Competitive and intense. Some funny cheers going up. Alex Thomas, always good for something outrageous, something unrepeatable. Roller pull allows DC to come down and set up a defense which looks like just a double team against the thrower. Did not trouble Max Shepard, but maybe blow the whistle. Not the whistle, not even looks like I don't know what they're whistling Max Shepard for. Said they didn't blow the whistle, but he didn't have to blow the whistle. That disc was not a dead disc; it was a live disc. Handler split. Sam Van Dusen gets it on the upfield and then launches that lefty laser. He's got Molly Moore deep, and he hits her right in the middle. And the Thunderbirds edge ahead, 2 goals. And I've got a friend who just joined me. Kill the fatted calf. That's a reference he knows from the Bible, and I know from the Rolling Stones' Beggar's Banquet. But who cares? The prodigal son has returned. We are joined here by Anson Reprimand. And the first question I've got to ask you, Anson, is do they still call you the air traffic controller out in Madison?
Unfortunately, no. That title has died with my my unfortunate divorce from the Thunderbirds this past season.
Can we call it a trial separation?
Yeah,
I mean, is there trial separation? How are you enjoying life in Chicago, and how are you enjoying being a member of the Madison Radicals?
Life in Chicago is nice. I got that suburb life just like here in Pittsburgh. I'm excited. I accepted a new job in Pittsburgh, so I'll be moving back in 2 weeks. So this is my trial run, hit all the tryouts for clubs, saying hi to all the friends, and planning routes for Thunderbirds 2019 already.
Now, I assume that that Shayna and Dara and Phaedra and everybody knew about it. Does everybody, are we getting this news later, or are we breaking this now?
This is the first public posting, I suppose, other than a one-off Twitter comment. So, yes, this is public breaking news.
Well, the great news is that we have kept your nickname warm for you, and you didn't throw away your Thunderbirds jersey, and so we're thrilled to have you coming back to town, not just because you know, we love to see you playing for Pittsburgh teams, but we love you, and you're a Pittsburgher through and through. And, hey, speaking about through and through, we just had Livy Lehman run right through that crowd around the handler and make a block, and it looks like the officials are having a conversation, and Kerrigan is involved in it too. But looks like it's going to stand. A stall was called. So the block was extraneous. By then the play was dead. But we are so happy that you're coming home, and I'm sure that you're excited about it too. Speaking about excited, talk about what it means to see Shane out here.
It's really awesome. She's been right on my heels for a while as a player, and she's following a lot of my developmental track. It's really exciting to see her starting to get some reps and some recognition and see her keep growing as a player.
And as a coach as well, she had a terrific wow. Alex Thomas looked like he had a ladder that he climbed up there, an invisible ladder. I don't know if he's ready to join you in the tower, but that was a heck of a leap. Pat Mack picks up the disc, being marked by Norbaum. We'll get back to Anson in just a moment. And he laces one up the line to an in-cutting Cicilline. Meanwhile, he's looking for a little bit of help, and he finds it in Pat Mack, who's all over the field, including falling with his butt on the field. And Susan Devaraj in possession of the disc right now, joined by a double team very quickly, but she passes out of it to McMullen, who's been there for a rescue again and again. Livy Lehman circles behind the disc, and a hammer across the field, and maybe another stall. Timeout was called, so before that stall could go up, but and that's a tough thing to adjust to, isn't it, Anson? When you're used to playing in club and you hear a 10-second stall count out loud from the person marking you, as opposed to this silent 7-second stall, that gets up there pretty quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's always a bit of a surprise every time you hear that whistle blow and you find out you were holding the disc for way too long, and everybody's mad at you. Well,
and I think it reinforces good habits anyway, which is if the disc is still in your hands and it's stall 5, what are you doing with the disc in your hands? So, you know, it's just a habit that you have to get into. Well, glad that you're back and excited to hear that you're going to be rejoining the Pittsburgh Ultimate community, which in my view you never really left. Enjoy the rest of the game, and we'll look forward to seeing you. I was just talking this morning to Fez, one of our teammates on the greatest non-title winning summer league team in history, Green Eggs Go Ham, and I'm sure she sends her regards too. So great to see you. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Matt. It was great to be here.
So, big news for everybody in Pittsburgh Ultimate, and that is the runway is open. The air traffic controller coming back to Pittsburgh, and you're going to see him in a Pittsburgh uniform again really soon. So, a lot of excitement with that announcement. Meanwhile, to speak of excitement, we've got an exciting game with 3 minutes left. It's 10-8, favor of Supercell, and the stall count will reset under AUDL rules. If you call a timeout to rescue yourself from a high stall in USAU play, you don't get a reset, but Christy Laurie will have a fresh 7 to work with, and she's going to attract some attention over there. She's flanked by Jess Mass, and so some offensive players. We've got all 3 women handlers and Carolyn Normil downfield, so this is definitely an attempt to feature the women. There's a double team being put on. She throws around that with a big block. Bartenstein and Ryan Heim saying that did not wait for a whistle. This was a restart of play. And so Bartenstein robbed of that block and clearly not happy about it on the DC sideline. They do get 10 yards out of it. And Buxbaum and Dew will form a 2-person double team with Delrico Johnson kind of blocking off the easy outlet pass, so she goes over the top to Beardsley. Beardsley finds Shepard with a rare downfield throw. He throws a very believable hammer fake because he's always ready to throw that hammer. And then he's got it looks like Pagano. Pagano on the doorstep with the disc. She throws a scoober to Shepard, and he can use the rest of the field. Sends it out to Laurie. Swift cuts off that around, and now Pagano finds John Mass. Jess Mass fakes a cut into the open space, but it's cut off by Bowser, so instead he flips a handler cut to Pagano, and it's going to be a race, and in a race to the disc, you know who's likely to win it, and that's Delrico Johnson, who once again cleans up a sloppy throw in the end zone. The disc is in the end zone, goes back to Swift. He's got Bowser. Bowser handling with the disc in front of Jess Mast. She's got Swift next to her. She's got a double team. She pops it over the top, and we've got a whistle. And looks like there was a timeout. So dueling timeouts, and Pat Hammonds doesn't hesitate a second. He says D1, and that means defensive team number 1 goes out on the field. Try to steal a block here with 1:25 remaining. Supercell trying to maintain a multi-goal lead. DC benefiting from a Del Rico Johnson block in the end zone. And now ready to take over on offense and try to work this disc 80 yards down the field. Going to see if we can get Susan to talk to us for a second. Got Susan Devaraj, who is my summer league teammate this year, much to my great delight. I'm not going to have to throw a huck unless it's to her or Molly this summer. Are you feeling the larger field?
Definitely. There's a lot of space out there, a lot of space to put swings out, and just got to remember to keep running because things are going to be in bounds a lot longer than you think.
And on defense, of course, it's that feeling you get where your energy surges when you're on defense and you get a turnover. It happens in reverse, of course, when you're on offense and you turn the disc over and you realize you've got to play defense on this enormous field. And so that's obviously something that you have to adjust to. What's it like so far playing with these guys? They're not usually your teammates.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We got a lot of skilled players out here, so a lot of trust that they'll be able to put it where we want to see it, and they'll be looking for us just as much as we'd be looking for each other, so it's a good vibe.
Well, just like on Bingo Flamingos, our summer league team, you guys are part of the big strength of this team, and let's see what happens on this last point. Thanks a lot, Susan Devaraj. Disc in the hands of Ross. Ross marked by Erlinson. She finds Wallace. She's got Scott right in front of her working an in-cut, and suddenly DC eats up a lot of ground. We've got about a minute left in this quarter. Kerrigan sends it across the field. Ross has it in her hands, rocking that Huck the Patriarchy headband, and she throws it over the head of Janie Mockrish. So, with about 50 seconds left and time of the essence, the disc is put into play by Sharon Yee. She's got to keep her eye on the clock. She's got Leonard. She sends it out to Trimble. We're down to 39 seconds left, and now looks like Steve May's got the disc on the sideline. He's joined by Brad Scott. Clock ticking down to 30 seconds. Still bottled up in the Thunderbirds' end of the field, but now Yee's got some room. And Coach Pat Hammonds uses his last timeout to bring out 0-1 to try to use this last 26.5 seconds to put the disc into the DC end zone and increase the Supercell lead to 3. Suns come out.
Sun's out, buns out.
Guys outside that.
I've been urged to disrobe by 2 members of the Supercell team, AT, Pat Mack, telling me it's time to get out my buns and my thighs. Speaking of parents, Pat says my parents are listening. We have to say hi to some friends and apologize for yesterday. We didn't get a chance to say hi to Peggy and Joe Hammonds, who are the parents of Pat and are about to become grandparents in August because Pat's wife Kelly is expecting. So that's so exciting for them, and I'm sure they were out here apparently helping Pat and Kelly get ready for the new arrival. That's going to be their first child. So Peggy and Joe, hope you're enjoying the broadcast today back in Radnor, and we're always happy to say hello to you. Probably the most loyal fans of the Thunderbird Supercell stream, and hopefully listening today as their son Pat tries to pull all the right strings and press all the right buttons. And the button he's pressed now is 0-1, and with Christy Laurie, she of the outstanding backhand break, marked by Trineri. Disc is in. She throws a forehand, steps out wide, finds Van Duzen. Always a threat to go deep, and he does. He's got more steep. Johnson's nowhere close, and Molly pulls it down. Molly Moore on the doorstep. Max Shepard says, throw it to me, but instead, she throws it up to Owen Watt. It drops out of his hand. It gets knocked out of his hand, but he lays out and catches it on the second effort. And with 14.5 seconds left, Supercell goes up by 3. Molly Moore with a terrific huck from Sam Van Duzen. Had a couple of choices. She had Watt on her left. She had Shepard on her right. You can bet that Shepard will come over and tell her, you should have thrown it to me, Molly. But instead she found Watt, and Watt made good her choice because after practically losing it on a desperate D bid, he managed to lay out, get the second chance, and Delrico Johnson, who's been there on all of those floaters in the end zone, was unable to catch up to this one. So, a happy Supercell team comes over to the sideline, and Pat Hammonds pulled the right strings there by sending offensive one out onto the field. 14 seconds left, and you can imagine we're going to see a tall team, and we do. Trimble, May, Erlinson, Reprimand, Rowland, Lehman, and Beardsley. Bartenstein lunges to catch one and then floats one into the air. He's got Smullen. Will it hang up long enough? It does not. And with just 6 seconds left, let's see if we can launch this one. Lehman probably doesn't have time. She throws one that's going to fall well short. And that ends a very successful first half for Pittsburgh Supercell, who finishes 11-8, a 3-goal lead. And it happens that that's almost exactly the score that the Thunderbirds faced, a deficit of 3 yesterday when the Breeze played the Thunderbirds in the all-male AUDL game. And the leading team came out and rolled to 3 straight after the half and never looked back. We'll see if that happens today. But Supercell clicking and finding their team chi very quickly. A lot of great work from the women members of the team on offense and defense, but it's definitely a true mixed production here. It wouldn't be fair to say that the Thunderbird men have been eclipsed by the women, but they have definitely been complemented by them. And I would say that the Thunderbirds look like a better team with the Supercell contingent joining them. So we're probably going to take a little break here at halftime, but we hope you'll stay with us, and I hope that you can feel the energy here. A big crowd, a beautiful day, one of the best fields in the AUDL, and some of the best mixed ultimate that you can see anywhere being played right now. At the end of the second quarter, the score is Supercell 11, DC Mixed 8. Stick with us. We'll be back in about 12 minutes, and don't miss the second half. It's going to be a good one. Yeah. Just want Good. Okay, tell me when we're live. Okay. Well, we are live, and we're back after a boisterous halftime celebration, which included the Hit the Huckasaurus game with Naked Bill Holman over there with his trademark blazer and gold bandana. And I saw Bridget Compton and Anthony Erlinson, Pittsburgh Mixed Ultimate, beating the heck out of that poor dinosaur. I don't know how my brother-in-law Andy Norman fared. To update you on what's going on right now, we're about to start the second half of this mixed pro game. It does not count on the schedule, but it clearly counts to these players who are playing all-out, high-level mixed ultimate, and Pittsburgh Supercell leads DC Breeze Mixed by a score of 11-8. And you just heard Pittsburgh coming out of their huddle. It is hot. We see players stripping out of those jerseys every chance they get when they come off the field. And Pittsburgh is going to go on to receive the disc to start this quarter. And this will be a 4-3 men's quarter. The last quarter of the game will be played 4-3 women. And that probably would favor the Thunderbirds Supercell team, because although the DC team is stocked with quality players, both genders, the Supercell team has made better use of the talents of its women, putting them back in positions to handle quite a bit, pushing the men downfield, and creating defensive opportunities for them, and they've certainly been making plays. Standout players so far, we don't have statistics for you, but Alex Thomas for the Supercell team having a terrific game. Sam Van Duzen, of course, getting his hucks in. Christy Laurie, as you would expect, rock steady in the handle, but also some great play by Kelsey Leonard on offense and defense. Sharon Yee, and it won't surprise you to hear the name Carolyn Normil. Carolyn laying out for a monster huck from Jonathan Mast in the end zone. So who's going to take the field right now to begin the half for the Thunderbirds? 0-1 is the answer. Going from right to left, Christy Laurie with her hand in the air. Looks like she's flanked by Sarah Lemansky, Felipe Delgado, Linda Morse, and looks like Owen Watt, Max Shepard, and Sam Van Duzen, and it's going to be a brick to start the half, and Max Shepard will go and put it in play. Meanwhile, countering for DC Mixed, we've got number 17, Bowser Dew, and we've got Sarah Bucksbaum, Kate Trineri on the field for the women, and then Delrico Johnson, Matt Neely downfield, and then near the disc, we've got Swift and Marcus Daw, former Thunderbird. Mansky fields it here and then centers it to Christy Laurie, who is fouled. Looked like she was fouled, but a protest from Marcus Daw that he didn't. Delrico Johnson underneath it, Delgado coming for help from the back, but to no avail. Johnson goes up and catches it, and takes just a minute for DC to pull to within 2, 11-9. We'll listen to the players as they come off, and it looks like DC has made a concerted effort to come out with a little bit more fire. You hear them chanting, and they were chanting right out of the locker room. There's a definite sense, I think, of camaraderie among the players from both teams. First of all, they know each other well, they play each other a lot, and also because they're engaged in this endeavor I think everybody's excited about, which is Pro Mixed Ultimate. On the other hand, there's some real competition, and there have been some arguments, and I wouldn't say that it's gotten heated, but both teams really want to win. It doesn't matter that this isn't for money and it's not for points in the standings, because what we all start playing for, and I think what we all continue to play for, is pride and the love of competition. So DC wanted to go on a little run to start, and they get a break to begin. John Mass with the disc right now. Kat Pagano breaks away, and Carolyn Normil fills. Normil has the opportunity to boost one. She's got Van Duzen deep. He's got a lot of company, but he goes up, gets his hand on it first, can't pull it in, and Delrico gets it. He gets the offense going by throwing one out. Big backhand out to Thaw, who launches one into the air, and it's Mass down there with Sumida. And who's going to get to it first? It's Jess Mass who gets position. The male poachers were there. Travel called, and it's the orientation of the field that does it. And Matt Neely says, hey man, he just ran away from me, which is kind of illegal. But If you look at it, it's all, as we would say in Yiddish, it's for blunge it. The field is pushed way back towards the fence. It's not the way it was when the Thunderbirds used to play here. Max Shepard with the disc throws a nice one up to Mast, who lays out, gather it in. And now she's looking for help to pass out of the double team. Throws a wicked fake, and you just heard that, oh, that was from D.C. Watching Del Rico lay out the wrong direction for a fake. And here's a punt, which repositions the disc, and with a nice jump over the Eric sign and a roll and a crash into the barrier. Looks a little bit more like Le Mans Grand Prix racing than it does Ultimate. But Max Shepard, apparently unbroken, tosses the pylon aside, and Marcus Daw puts it in. But that field, that's happened a couple of times where we've seen travels down here by people who thought, and a beautiful block there. Swift definitely thought that he had beaten his man up the line, but instead Van Dusen smashes it to the ground, and Thunderbirds with a chance to re-extend their lead. Max Shepard working hard against Thaw. Mast floats one up to him in the middle. We got Pagano making a cut in towards the punt pylon, and she scores right on the doorstep. That punt worked. That looked like an intentional boost there to try to reposition the disc. The Thunderbirds were having trouble getting it moving in their end zone, and it looked to me like they made a conscious decision just to send it deep. Max Shepard's always a good bet if it stays in bounds. It didn't, but they got a quick turnover on a beautiful block by Sam Van Dusen, who I think baited his man a little bit. Let's see if we can get a hold of Sam Van as he comes off the field and talk to him about that. John Masters came off the field, and of course Dave Vatz gave him a hard time, said nice travel. John, the field's oriented differently than it was when you guys used to play here, and that end zone is way far back. Did that confuse you?
Yeah, it did. I definitely thought it was the back line, both kind of sprinted up to the front.
I a couple of times have thought that goals had been scored when they hadn't down this way. And I saw somebody put one out the back. Maxstat with an opportunity to boost one. Erlinson in hot pursuit, but it is beautifully put. What a great throw by Xavier. He gets it to Ross right on the goal line, and she releases a high release, which finds her receiver, that was Christine Valvo, and it's back to 2. So a beautiful shot from Xavier. And, the Thunderbirds don't hate it when he does that because it doesn't always work out, but that time, boy, it couldn't have been a prettier throw to Ross, who gathers it in and throws the goal. And speaking of Kelly Ross, who just tracked down that beautiful hook from Xavier Maxstat and then finished with the throw into the end zone to Christine Valvo. So far, how is your team? It looked like you guys came out of the locker room at halftime with a kind of concerted effort to be more of a team, more pumped, more hyped. Was that something you talked about?
Yeah, so when we went into the locker room, we were talking about how this is an opportunity that, once in a lifetime. Hopefully this sets the standard and changes that, but right now we have a great opportunity in front of us to really show what, mixed pro can look like. And so we just have to come out and have fun, get pumped. And so, yeah, totally different attitude coming out, really focusing a little bit more on us, having fun, and really just balling out.
And I know that in some ways this feels like a partnership with your counterparts across the line, but I also know this is a really competitive game. You guys both want to win, and it looks to me like nobody's holding back even a little out there.
Yeah, not at all. Pittsburgh plays Breeze all the time, but a lot of us club players, too, recognize each other. Linda Morris, Carolyn Normil, a lot of the hot metal girls. So even the female matchups are familiar with each other, and we know what our strengths are. So yeah, it's a fun matchup out here.
Are you guys, I know that Pittsburgh did a tremendous job in the first half getting their women players involved in moving the disc in the backfield and opening up opportunities for downfield strikes. Are you guys looking to move the women into more handling positions?
Right now I think our strengths are a little bit more downfield, so we're having no trouble getting open unders with our women, or even deep. So a little bit more movement down there. We have some big shooters coming over from the breeze, and we're happy to go run down some scores.
So contrasting styles from the two teams, strength from the women contingent in both cases, but in different areas of the field and different areas of the game. Well, you're playing great so far, and so far the energy here is just tremendous. I'm sure you can pick it up. It's definitely the most pumped up that we've had for a Thunderbirds crowd, and let's just hope we see more of it. It's a great example. Thanks for being part of it.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
It was Kelly Ross, who is a member of the Gender Equity Committee and one of the captains of this team. And we've got Clendenin pulling the disc down in front of Leonard. And then disc moves backwards, and looks like we got a stall. And more tremendous defense today from Kelsey Leonard, who does not play at all intimidated with the big bodies out there, put a strong mark on there. Great handler defense by the Thunderbirds, and the Thunderbirds with an opportunity to break. Trucks Trimble. He's got Cicilline open in the middle of the field. It's sent out to Pat Mack. Pat Mack throws it out, and unfortunately Lehman can't quite get her hand around it. That throw needed to bend a little bit more. Coming to pick up the disc is Norbaum. Pat Mack's got the mark on him, and we've got what looks like it might be a high release, but instead it's sent across the field. Quickly, Holland is joined by AT. Kerrigan's got the disc. This one looks like it's going to stay inbounds, and it finds Wallace in the end zone for a goal and the 13-11 score with 7:51 left in the third period. I want to thank Dave Onomastico of Steel Toe Productions here today. And also really want to give a shout out to some of the executives of these two teams. First of all, GM of the Thunderbirds, Andrew Gardner, who left. He's been putting so much energy into making this a reality. And even as recently as last night, left the Thunderbirds game and drove directly from Art Rooney Stadium up on the bluff out here to set up this game, to set up this field and hang these banners and be ready. And Andrew making a real effort to make something special happen, and we appreciate that. And of course, Coach Darryl Stanley of the DC Breeze, also a member of their Gender Equity Committee, and clearly enjoying himself today. And as he said, he was just going to let his players play. Sam Van Dusen signaling to Jess Mass that he is open. He throws a nifty inside out. Tracking it down deep is Carolyn Normil. She gets both hands on it, but that's a downhill shot downwind, and she can't hang on to it. A rare drop from her. Delrico Johnson picks it up. Flanked on his left by Neely. Sends it up to Swift. Women working downfield. Bartenstein deep. Trineri working hard against Pagano. This one swung back to Neely. The three gentlemen working in the handle. Matt Neely looks to throw it over to Delrico, but he's not there. Instead, he sends a nifty up-the-line shot to Swift. Neely and Swift, the handlers now, doing all the work until this one is sent for Trineri, and she's covered by Pagano. The throw gets beyond her, and she just can't catch up to it. So the male handlers of the DC mixed team working very effectively there. Thunderbirds maybe needing to do something to stop that. Meanwhile, Thunderbirds counter with a vertical stack with Pagano and Jess Mass handling. This one sent in the middle to Max Shepard, position he likes to play. He's marked by Neely. He finds Van Dusen. He does not have anybody deep, and you know he doesn't like that. So Max Shepard just gets on his horse, but Johnson's covering him. And even though directing traffic there is Sam Van Dusen, who barely gets one off in time to Ethan Beardsley. He throws one downfield to Mass, who finds Van Dusen. He is moving, and he finds Carolyn. Looks like a goal, and if I'm DC, I'm looking at Sam Van Dusen shuffling his feet and thinking, why wasn't a travel called on that one? But